Hi, I'm Mary Keydash, and welcome to Bay Area Beat TV, the show that supports, encourages, and celebrates independent artists, musicians, poets, and filmmakers by showcasing their talents on Marin, Pacifica, and Novato's Community Access TV. We are delighted tonight to have a conversation with director, writer, producer, videographer, and inventor Ed Dudkowski, and filmmaker and visual effects wizard James Sullivan. Welcome, you guys. It's so great to have you on the show.
Thank you for inviting us.
So Ed, what I would like to do is start with you. We're talking tonight about your creative process and the tools you use in your business and your work. So why don't you give us a little idea about how you got started and how things were at that time?
I actually got started when I was about 7 years old, interested in television production, and the backstage aspects of it, cameras. We had to find out how to use the library in second grade, so they bussed us down to the library and went in, and I found this book. I walked right into a shelf, pulled this book off, opened it up, and my life changed. It was called Television and How It Works, and it was written for it had a lot of illustrations of cameras and studios and microphones and transmitters and all this stuff, and I just absolutely became mesmerized and kept it out and paid fines for the rest of the year. And then I started modeling a television studio in my basement with a box that I put on a tripod and made it look like a camera. And next year or two, I started adding tally lights to it, and I started learning electricity and electronics. And fortunately, my dad had a hardware store in this small town in Connecticut, and I could go out and I could go and find things to build with. If I needed wire, I could go to the other part of the store and get wire. If I needed nails or screws or parts and things, I could do a lot of building, and he had a shop there. So I got to play with my hands a lot, building electronic stuff, and I thought I was ultimately going to become an electronics engineer. That really didn't happen. I got to college as an engineering major, and the first week in school I discovered there was a student radio station that had a little television studio attached to it, and you could play with all that equipment. And that sounded more interesting than higher math courses and slide rules then. And so I changed my major at the University of Oklahoma, and I became a broadcasting major. I got very involved with the station. I skipped study hall all the time and went to the station and played with my friends with radio. And at the end of the semester, I was voted the most outstanding broadcasting student, and I flunked out.
Oh my! And how did that happen if you were so outstanding?
I played with, and I forgot my GE courses. I kind of let them go by the wayside when I would cut study hall.
I see.
But I got lucky. My folks were house sitting in Southern California in a town called Paris, and I was asked, I intercepted the mail and didn't let them know, and I found out about a small junior college in Southern California that had an on-the-air UHF television station, Channel 24 in San Bernardino, and the students ran it. And so I had a chance to direct and produce and run camera and run audio and do all the stuff that you do here now in this facility when I was a sophomore and junior and freshman and sophomore in college. And then I transferred up to San Francisco State, where I got into an amazing program out there and graduated 2 years later and started working in the business as a producer, writer, director. And
at that time, did San Francisco State have a broadcast department? Is that what your major was in?
Yeah, they had a fabulous broadcast department. They were just building, at that time, the new broadcast facility, so they were still located in the drama department, but they had great instructors, and they placed a lot of people in San Francisco broadcasting over the years.
So a lot of people in the business don't have a formal college education and background, but you did, so that's very interesting to me.
But the funny thing is, and the irony is that later in life, I would use my early electronics training and mechanical training to become an inventor of tools for the media.
Now talk about that. You were doing your job, and you saw a need to make it easier. Tell us all about that.
Well, I was working in TV news. In those days, we were shooting black and white reversal film for all the stories. And I had, because of my electronics background, having been in ham radio in high school, I knew that there was something stirring with equipment, that someday we'd be able to shoot electronically the same thing we were shooting with film, and that would be far more efficient and allow you to go live. And so I used to hang around when I was writing the news and had a break. I would get out in the engineering department and read all the magazines that they had, the trade magazines, and talk to the engineers and see if there was some way I just kind of went in that direction. And then I, in I think it was 72, heard that the George McGovern campaign in California was looking for a way to create an instant videotape press release service. At that time, there were no satellites. And so to reach a TV station with a press release, you had to grab a PSA. From up here, you had to have a PSA flight to LA and physically walk the tape into the station. And they wanted to have same-day coverage of news events. And so I've got a tape here that I'd like to show on how that campaign went, and then how that evolved into the next stage, which was the development of the first minicam system. So we could roll
Okay,
that,
we'll
roll
take
that
a look
tape
at
now.
that right now.
In 1972, I had the opportunity to develop an instant videotape news release service for the McGovern presidential bid in California. The requirements were speed, portability, and broadcast quality. Our goal was to record the candidate on location, giving a speech in the morning at various locations throughout the state, then duplicate up to 50 copies of excerpts of that speech on location for distribution immediately to TV stations for play that day. This was back in 1972. U-matic 3/4 inch did not exist as a broadcastable format then. 1 inch was just barely time-based correctable. We did accomplish the goal, and in doing so did one of the first minicam type of video coverages. With a modified Sony studio camera, at that time the smallest available reasonably priced color camera with broadcastable color pictures, we did several modifications. First was to remove the conventional back of the camera viewfinder. We then bought a Panasonic 1-inch TV receiver and converted it to a video monitor, placing it in the front of the camera right near the lens. With a custom-designed shoulder harness, we had our minicam. We still had to run the cable to a small CCU, then to an IVC 1-inch VTR. We would select a portion of the scene we wanted, dub it through an old analog type of time-based corrector, and record it onto a VR3000, where we even used film rewinds to cut the individual tapes for each station. It all fit nicely into a VW microbus, and it amazes me today that the whole thing held together for some 10 consecutive days of shooting. It wasn't until the fall of 1973 that the first commercially available minicam in the under $30,000 range became available. Hidden away in a quiet corner of the 1973 NAB convention in Washington, D.C. was a Japanese company called Osaka. They had on display a broadcast-quality color camera with a camera head that weighed only 14 pounds and a backpack of 14 pounds. In 1974 and 75, I worked with the Osaka in Hawaii and Alaska and in the western United States, and it was exhilarating not to need a control room on wheels to shoot color video images almost anywhere.
Prior to that, you could not walk down the street and shoot color video. You had to be tied to a truck or a building. But to do that, I had, on the left is actually a younger version of me, carrying a 55-pound tape recorder that had 2-inch tape on it. The tape was 2 inches wide, and you had 20-minute loads, and that was all you could play. And then my partner, Harry Mathias, has a 15-pound camera head, about a 20-pound backpack, and about another 15-pound battery belt. And we were portable, we were thrilled. Today, you can do it, of course, everybody can shoot that same higher quality video, high definition video with your cell phone. So I've seen quite a few changes in the industry. It's been really fun.
Were other people doing that after you put that together?
That was in 74, 75. 76 seemed to be the big year. It's when RCA came out with the first self-contained video camera that didn't have a backpack. It didn't have a video tape recorder in it either. It just was a camera, but it was sensational because it was just the camera head. And you had to connect to a 3/4 inch deck at that time. So that was the evolution. Sony was kind of leading the field at that point.
I see.
And as I say, I've watched a lot of changes in the industry. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. And so then what happened?
Well, then I started a production company in Mill Valley that had national business. One of our clients I'm very proud of was National IBM Corporation. When the PC came out, my company got hired, my little mom and pop video company in Mill Valley got hired to develop an 8.5-hour training system to teach teachers around the country how to use the PC in education. And IBM gave it away at that time on 3/4 inch cartridges. And they spread it around the country so that they could get more teachers involved with computers. And then they brought us back 3 years later to do another project teaching kindergarten first graders reading and writing. And I was proud of that program also. But then we also did a lot of other stuff. We did commercials for Safeway stores every Friday. We did a lot of travel promotional videos for Siskiyou County and Shasta County, and up that area. We did high-tech videos for Intel and companies down the peninsula. Did some work for Apple. It's just been a really, at that time, it was a pretty, you did a lot of different kinds of things. And that was before we had YouTube and internet video. It was all either video cassettes or broadcast.
Did you feel more comfortable as an inventor or a director or a writer or a producer, or did you equally feel?
I love doing all of it. I love coming down here to the media center and directing a multi-camera show from the control room. I love going out on location and shooting on location. I enjoy editing. I don't like to sit at a computer all day long, but I enjoy editing. I enjoy inventing. It's really fun to bounce back and forth between different projects and different things.
And speaking of inventing, what else have you been up to in with your inventor's cap on?
The next thing that came along, I actually received 2 patents. I was awarded 2 patents by the U.S. Patent Office for what's called a control room on a suitcase. And essentially, you were able to switch multi-camera television show, a multi-camera television show out of a suitcase-sized container, a Pelican case, with an LCD display that had the different camera monitors and switcher, and it had tally lights and intercom so you could talk to the camera people. And I designed it because up until then you needed a big 45-foot truck to do a multi-camera shoot of any significance. In fact, I was talent coach on a cooking show in Kohler, Wisconsin for PBS one year when I was developing this, and they had a 45-foot truck trailer parked outside of this cooking school. I went back a couple of years later to the same school, got the same director, and you'll see a video in a few minutes that I'll show you, and we did it all out of my PIX box, as we call it, the suitcase. And so we just proved that you could miniaturize things. I was taken by the fact that by 2000 we were using DV camcorders, and their quality was as good as we used to have with broadcast. And so I said, well, if you could find a way to switch them and make them all together, you wouldn't need big studio type cameras on heavy tripods. You could use the camcorders that were virtually becoming a consumer product. And so I developed it around that, figuring that maybe high schools could use it to do sports events, and people could use it to do live presentations. And there's a lot of variety of uses. Cable systems could use it to do local events and things like that.
And you call it the PIX box.
It's called the PIX box. Here's a video demonstration of it.
Okay.
If you roll that.
Jill Prescott's public television series École de Cuisine is seen on more than 100 stations nationwide. Charlie White is a 25-year broadcast veteran director.
Ready, 1, and take 1, 1's up. You know, we had a big 48-foot truck before. Now we have a 24-inch suitcase, okay? I'd rather have the suitcase, believe me. Okay, ready, 2, take 2.
Introducing the PIX box, the only plug-and-play live video editor. All the essential functions of a broadcast television control room in a small suitcase-sized package. At about 25 pounds, this new revolutionary TV production tool features a 17-inch high-resolution color LCD to show up to 8 source inputs, as well as preview and program monitors on one screen at the same time. The preview and program monitors can instantly zoom to full screen without affecting the output signal for critical live editing directorial judgments. Time-based corrected switching allows a mixture of consumer, prosumer, and professional cameras to be intercut with plug-and-play compatibility from either composite video, S-video, or FireWire. Bright LEDs ensure proper audio levels. This unit meets RS-170A broadcast specifications for complete professional quality.
Okay, we're getting some good video out of there. The audio sounds good too. It's really working. It's really working very well.
The PIX box includes an 8-station 2-channel PL intercom system, so the director has complete communication with camera operators. Also included is PIX Tally, a proprietary LED tally system built into the PL belt packs and mic boom to indicate when camera positions are live. The PIX box is perfect for webcasting, cable casting, and/or video recording live school sports events, local government and community meetings, seminars, lectures, entertainment venues, hotel AV departments, recording studio sessions,
church services, and all multiple camera live one-time only events. A patent is pending. The Pixbox from Creation Technologies, making television content creation easier.
This is a great product.
So the Pixbox is in what stage now? You had mentioned that
I was awarded a patent. It got delayed in the patent office. The company itself couldn't get financing after the 9/11 and that whole thing that went on there, and the economy kind of went downhill. And so the original investors and everyone kind of gave up on it, but I was able to get the patent issued in my name several years later. And I found an attorney who had worked with Sony who thought he could get a good settlement for me in a patent infringement action.
Okay.
And he got a okay settlement. It wasn't what he had promised me at the beginning, and by the time he took his twice what I got, and I paid some investors back, and I had enough to get through the last recession. I mean, I ended up selling the patents to Sony.
Oh, okay.
And so they hold them and they're sitting in a drawer somewhere.
Okay, so one can't buy the Pixbox from you.
No, but they can buy a unit that'll do similar now from Sony.
Okay.
We were anticipating or guessing that they would that they had infringed on 11 and a half of our 12 patent claims. And so what their unit does was virtually what ours did. And so there's a unit they have called the Anycast, and here at the Media Center we have 3 of them, and we use them to do city council meetings. And various events. I do the Forgiveness Day annually. I do the Marin Men's Chorus Christmas show with it, and I'm sure there are a lot of people are doing other things with it. You've been on cruise with me. And,
yeah, I don't think the average person has an understanding about what goes on behind the scenes to capture a live event like that, and how amazing it is that equipment is so compact and portable now, and you were the first one to really get that idea out there, and you physically put it together yourself, the Pixbox, which is amazing to me.
I went to electronic stores. There was one up in Roanoke Park I used to go to that had some surplus gear and then regular gear, and because I had messed around with ham radio in high school, I could build electronic stuff.
Right.
And I knew what the application had to be because as a director I knew what I needed. And so it was an absolute no-brainer for me to figure out how to do this.
That's absolutely fascinating. I don't think I for the life of me could figure out how to put this stuff together. I only work with it maybe.
Well, you know, when I was in high school, there was a company out of Michigan called Heath Company, and they made what called Heath kits. And you could make a television set, you could make a test signal generator, you could make a transistor radio. They would sell you all the parts, and you had to get your own soldering iron and needle nose pliers and cutting tools and things like that, and screwdrivers, and they all came sitting there, and you just kind of followed their instructions one at a time. It actually served me in later life when I started directing how-to programs, because I'm able to take and think in a step-by-step process, because I was trained that way building these Heath kits. But it also taught me how to build electronic equipment, and it also taught me that I could modify it. I could take a pair of pliers to it, or tweak some things here, or change this and that, and it was okay. And so the idea of innovating, of trying a different twist on something, just came natural after doing all that. And I had a couple of buddies. We used to play around with all that stuff, and early nerds, I guess. But it served me well.
Yeah, I should say. And then what happened? So with your inventor's mind.
Well, I had a little hiatus. I had some esophageal cancer that I survived, and that put me down for a couple of years. And now I'm healthy, cancer-free, and back doing stuff, and I have another patent pending.
And tell us about that.
Okay, so here's the prompt box. It's a teleprompter, a through-the-lens teleprompter, and I don't have it running right now, but essentially it's a display device here that reflects onto a mirror, so that you as talent would be reading words, but the camera would see through it because it's a one-way mirror and not see the words, it would just see your face.
So for the people out there that really don't see this kind of equipment, when you are on camera and many people are speaking, they're actually reading type and the content of that they're delivering, and it is on this. Normally, it's on a screen in a studio,
Right.
But now you have have it compact to fit on the end of your camera, so that you can go out. Okay.
And I filed a patent. I have a development partner. Filed a patent, and part of it is the mounting on the top of the camera, which makes it far easier than the old-fashioned way of mounting it on a sled under the camera. And so it's easier, faster to set up. I built the prototype literally out of foam core and double stick tape and Velcro and a few parts that a friend of mine at a machine shop has in his home. And I was showing it to some people at the media center, and a woman named Linda Vito, who's a local producer and an actor and a brilliant product development person, as it turns out, came up to me and said, I can work with you on this. Let's see if we can file a patent and develop it into a product. And she has literally, in about 2 years, I think now, developed it into a product that not only has this version, the new version doesn't use a VGA monitor, it actually uses any sort of mobile device, whether it be an iPad or an iPhone, or I'm going to show you something here in a moment if I can get this unlocked. Any mobile device becomes the display device, and you'd be amazed. What's really good about this that I like is that you can use it with DSLRs. So many people are shooting video these days with digital single light and reflex cameras, and it's small enough so that it easily mounts on the accessory shoe on the top of a DSLR, or you can do a pistol grip with it, and it's very efficient in that way. And it's also very good to use on a Steadicam because it's small. A couple of Steadicam operators have seen it and they immediately wanted to get one. But you might, whenever I tell people that you can use a mobile device as a thing to read from, you actually can.
Okay, so that's just a freeware program that you downloaded, and it's just demonstrating what a teleprompter looks like.
And so what we can do is, if you can widen out a little bit, we can put it on the top instead of this display, and it'll reflect into the mirror, and you can read it very efficiently from 5 or 6 up to 10 feet away. We can, and the nice thing about it is self-contained. It has its own battery, and you can control the speed of it with another mobile device. And so 2 mobile devices that most people have these days in our prompt box. Now finally, we've come up with a collapsible version of the mobile version, and so we have a unit that folds down to about this size for travel, and very compact.
And you also have a little video to show us more about this.
I do. This is done by a guy who lives in San Francisco, whose sole job in life these days for the past 20 years has been as a teleprompter operator.
Okay.
And he's the go-to guy in San Francisco. When Michelle Obama was here a couple of weeks ago, he was running prompter for her, and their staff were very impressed with him. And wish they could take him to other towns that don't have prompter operators. And he took one look at this, and he was very impressed. The word he used, I'm proud of. He said, "Brilliant." And this is a guy who works with this stuff every day for 20 years. So let's take a look at that tape now. And
well, hello. My name is Neil Tanner. I'm a teleprompter operator based out of San Francisco, California. I've been doing this for 20 years now. And I've been able to travel the world doing this, and I love the fact that I get to meet great new people everywhere I go. There's always a great crew, there's always great talent to work with, whether they're CEOs or politicians or people that have never even used a teleprompter before. It's just a joy to be in this industry. One of the other things that I really enjoy about it is that I'm constantly learning about new equipment. And something that I just came across is this system called the Prompt Box. And it's a little bit of a paradigm shift because we're so used to teleprompters having big, huge mirrors and you have to balance them and there's cables running off them and you're in a studio situation. Well, with this system, I'm able to just put a tiny little tablet inside of here. In fact, this is actually my phone. Able to put this inside here and be able to walk around with this thing. It's as simple as, hi, okay, great, I'm now teleprompting you. It's as simple as that. I'm also able to use this on Steadicams. And so if I wanted to, I can actually mount this on a Steadicam system within a few minutes. having mounted on Steadicams before, I know that there's a very tricky section around balancing the camera with their whole system of batteries and wireless and everything else like this. This is such a simple system. The times that I've used this with other Steadicam operators, they're just like, okay, we've got to buy one of these. It's a perfect system for when our clients at the last minute tell us, oh, Steadicam and teleprompter. It doesn't have to be impossible. So I've got 3 devices here. I've got all 3 of these fit very easily inside this device. There's a phone right here that actually has a very simple software on it. There's this 7-inch tablet or smaller, works great with this system. What I have inside here is actually my personal Droid, which is a phone as well as a tablet. It's absolutely great because it fits in there. I can use it, pop it in. Now let me share something with you. This software, what I was able to do was as simple as this. I just picked up the phone. I was able to dictate to it. I just said, okay, this is what I want to say in the prompter right now. I hit save. I said, let's go into script mode. I placed it inside, right in the center of it. Attach these 2 little screws. One on each side. And away you go. It's as simple as that. People are prompting. So I love this system and how versatile it is using very basic tools. Look at this. There's no wires running to a computer. There's no batteries being fed off this thing. It's a very simple, self-contained, great little unit, and I love the way the industry is going with this. Let me tell you a few things that I really like about this. It's versatile in that I can adjust this to different size of cameras. So if, say for example, I'm using not a DSLR like this, but like a larger camera, I'm able to move this whole piece backwards and forwards. I'm able to raise it up and down. Now this is a monopod. It's great because, as I mentioned, you can do handheld with this system. But what's also nice about it is that if you want to have a little bit more steady shots, on the bottom of this is a hole, and it's set up for doing 1/4-20. So you would just take your monopod, you would mount this to it, and then you have a much more stationary system if you're going to be doing interviews for a long time. One of the things I really like about this system is that if you're going to be shooting outside, this entire box functions as a matte box. So you don't have to worry about as much about light leak and things like that. So you're able to just point this right down at the actor and have no interference whatsoever. I love this system. So that's the prompt box. I really encourage you to find out more information about it, and you can do this at their website. It's PRBox4U. It's the number 4 and the character U, and it's prbox4u.com. And I think you'll, once you investigate, you'll find out just some of the great uses to use with it. Thanks again. Have a good day.
So that's the prompt box. We got really lucky a couple of weeks ago. We were featured in the January issue, a couple of weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, the January issue of Government Video Trade Magazine, with a photograph and an article that Neil actually wrote. And they printed it verbatim, and it was a very glowing article about using it in the field. The government has agencies all over the place that do video. They do informational videos for all their departments. In this case, the Forestry Service was doing a video on health training and how to use the basketball court that they had out in the back so that people would take breaks throughout the day and get in some physical exercise that they were encouraging. And so they had a stand-up announcer, and he was outside reading from the prompt box through the at the camera lens. So it was a nice little piece.
Very exciting.
Good to have that.
So what's next for you?
I don't know. It just seems. I mean, I'm still doing a lot of production, a lot of stuff for YouTube and internet companies, training for a crowdfunding company. I've been doing some video shooting for that. I'm shooting a immigration reform video tomorrow. I'm shooting another talent introduction video next week. It's all over the place, and it's interesting. It's all really interesting.
And how does one get a hold of you if one wanted to use your videography?
I have a website. It's edudkowski.com, EDUDKOWSKI.com.
So, okay, perfect.
That's
People
easy.
to get a